Hello everyone, my name is Yasayanlar and I'm working in Oracle as a cloud solution engineer. Today we are going to talk about Ansible and we are going to build a up and running WordPress instance with Ansible using the automation features, and we will see um, how we automate the packages and the underlying infrastructure with a simple Ansible playbook. So I will try to talk about the ad hoc commands and the playbooks and how to create roles and so on. And we will in the end check the playbooks that I have created. They are available on GitHub. And I thought this could be useful for people who are deploying blogs or sharing their content on WordPress, and then if they are creating WordPress instances so often, and it's sometimes taking a lot of time to manage the underlying technologies and configuring them also. This is why we are going to automate it today, and hopefully it will be useful for you. So before jumping into the steps, right now I'm in the OCI control panel here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to create two virtual machines here. One will be my master node and the other one will be my child node. And we will do all these automations from the master node, and we will deploy everything on the child node using the master node. So let's name it as Ansible WordPress master. And I'm not gonna change the availability domains. It doesn't matter at this point. I'm just gonna pick CentOS 7 as my image. And then you can do this workshop in always free tier in OCI. But for this recording, I'm just using the standard E3 Flex AMD shape. But it doesn't matter what shape you use. So just go and pick this free tier VMs, which are named as micro, and then you can have this workshop all in the free tier without paying anything or spending any dollars on it. So I have created prior to this a VCN. I'm using an already created VCN here, and my VMs are gonna live on a public subnet. And now here I'm gonna upload my SSH keys. I will need the public one. So here it is. And then I'm not gonna change anything with the boot volume. I'm okay with this. So let's go and create it. So as you see, this will be the master node, and then I will need another instance for installing everything, and I will name it as the, or let's call it the child instance. And image will be again CentOS 7. So if you are to, let's say, create 10 VMs or maybe more, so it's sometimes tedious to do this over and over again. And instead of just creating them one by one, what you can do is you can go and create an instance pool, and you can create an instance configuration for duplicating virtual machines. And in that way, you don't need to mess with them one by one or lose time, let's say, creating multiple VMs. So you can duplicate the number of the VMs that you want to create, and then it will be available to you with a couple of clicks. So yeah. The networking settings are the same pretty much. I'm gonna, I need to actually upload my public key here again. And then I will go ahead and create this child instance, and then I will wait for them to get provisioned. So meanwhile, these two instances are getting provisioned. What I can do is I can show you, let's say I can prepare this connection here. I'm using mobile Xterm for the SSH connection. So I will go and create here a new session. I will need the public IP of my master node. Here, the default username is OPC, and I need to use my private key here. So which is this one. Then we will see if it is provisioned already. Not yet. Okay, we are still waiting. All right. Ansible can be used also for different purposes. It's not only an automation tool, so it's really a powerful tool that can be used for instance configurations, deploying software, updating packages, and you can manage your networking, cloud instances, and pretty much like everything in IT, let's say. So it is a really powerful tool. And I'm glad. Hopefully, you will be able to, install your WordPress stack on it, and you will discover the features more after this video. So my master node is up and running. So let's try to connect it here again. And I'm just gonna pick here, oops, up somewhere here. So, all right. Oops, I'm on VPN. I forgot that. So let me disconnect. I should be able to connect right now. Yes. All right. So first things first, I'm gonna upload my SSH key here on this machine under the home OPC and .ssh folder here. So I'm gonna close it here. All right. So here I need that SSH key because this is how I'm gonna connect to the this is how I'm gonna manage my connection to the child nodes, because Ansible is clientless. This is another cool thing about Ansible, and we just need the SSH connection for reaching to the child nodes and deploying things on them, or let's say doing whatever we want to do. So I'm just gonna oops, drag and drop it here. This is what I like about MobileX so I don't need to actually downloading and uploading files in a different way. And so one thing that we need to keep in mind is Ansible doesn't let other users to use our key. So we should set the file permissions accordingly to do that. So in order to do that, we need to change the file permission of this IDRSA private key to 600, which is just letting this user to read and write, and that will be the only permissions that we will give by setting it to 600. So I will just set it as I set to 600, and it will be under SSH, and it will be IDRSA. So yeah, okay, this seems fine. And then sudo let's update what we have here, the packages and everything. And after this one, I will install Ansible on my master node, which I'm working right now. So it is installed. I'm just gonna check which version is that. So 2.9.13 is okay. And once the Ansible is installed, we need to check, let's say, the main files under Ansible. There are like two critical files that we need to check, either if you want to change the default configuration or for changing the resources or the, let's say, child nodes that we are going to manage, but I will show you both. So let's go and switch to where our files are located. So here we have the Ansible config file, the hosts, and the roles folder. So let's go and check what Ansible config file is. As you see here, there are like default settings that we can check here, or if you want to change some of them, we can just uncomment these lines and then put custom comments here, or let's say variables. So, but I don't need any changes, but I just want to show you the context of this file. So here, let's say if you were to change the default file path for our inventory file, which is hosts, we can do that here, change this path, or if we need to change something with the sudo users or the commands that we might need to, let's say, change when it comes to, let's say, the paths or something related to the roles. Let's say if you want to use a different path for the roles that we are going to define, we can change them here and so on. So go and check this folder path. And if you do want to something different than what is defined here, you can change everything here in this config file. And the second important thing is the hosts file. Hosts file is actually, we should think of that as an inventory file. We are going to write down everything in that host file when it comes to defining our child nodes, or the nodes that we want to manage or automate, or do whatever we want to do with Ansible. We need to define them in the hosts file. So what I mean is, I will show you here like that. So when you go into this file, you see a couple of examples here, how to define groups or let's say resources. It can be like the domain names, IP names, or servers, VMs, dynamic resources like switches and routers and so on. But in this case, we are just going to work with one single VM to install the WordPress stack. So how am I going to do that? I need to create here a group, and then in this case, there will be only one VM in this group, but you will see here soon. So I will name my group as WordPress, and I create the group by writing the group name in the brackets here, as you see. And then right after that, I need to define the IP address of this instance or couple of instances which I want to manage. So I will go here and check the child instance public IP. And here I need to copy it down there. And then right after adding my node here, I need to define how I'm going to connect to this instance. And here I need to write down, in this case, I'm going to connect them through SSH. So I will define my SSH user connection name, let's say, and then the private key path, which Ansible will read and check, so it will authenticate, let's say. So if, let's say, Ansible SSH, and then I need to go on with the user, and then username is OPC as usual, and then here I need the SSH private key file, and that will be by default as in the beginning, as we have uploaded our private key to the home OPC and .ssh key folder, and under that our SSH key name is ID_RSA. So let me check if I have any typos here or not, any mistakes. WordPress variables, SSH user OPC. Yeah, it seems fine. So let's go on. Let's move on. So to check if you are able to, connect to the child instance that we have created and defined here, we need to start with, let's say I will start with actually defining what ad hoc commands are. So there are like 3 ways that we can manage or use, let's say, Ansible and connect or automate things on the servers that we like to have. So the first way of doing that is using ad hoc commands. So ad hoc commands are single line commands, let's say, which we can use to run one single task, or it can get a little bit more complicated than that, but it's not really the best way of, running a full automation on, step-by-step things. Ad hoc commands are more like, checking small things like pinging servers, rebooting them, or, you can just trace the facts about one server, get the details, and so on. So these are kind of like really convenient, one-line commands that we can use. So this is the first thing. And the second way of, using Ansible is like creating playbooks and roles. So I will get to the playbooks part later on, but I will just try to describe it real quick here in a short way. So playbooks are YAML files that we, define inside what we want to do. So we can define, let's say, installing packages or automating things like running or updating softwares, or let's say, installing a couple of things in order, or it can go way beyond these examples. But if you want to use one of these playbooks, and if you want to do those tasks repetitively, playbooks are a good way to go, because then we can use them again and again on different occasions. So it is quite handy, rather than writing ad hoc commands like 10 lines or 50 lines of code each time we want to do these automation things. So and the third way is using the Ansible Tower. It is a graphical user interface for managing these automation tasks. Ansible is owned by Red Hat, so Ansible Tower is also managed and owned by Red Hat, so it's a paid service. So we are not going to go into that part in this tutorial or workshop, let's say. So we are just going to stick with the ad hoc commands and the playbooks and roles. So let's go on. And we always start with the Ansible, and then we need to define the group that we are going to work with. So in this case, we can use localhost here if you want to do the things on this local machine that I have here, or we can define the group that I have created earlier, which is WordPress. I defined that in the hosts file. This is my group that I want to work with. And then right after that, I need to define the module that I want to use. In this case, -m stands for the module, and then I just want to use the ping module. And then when I try it, I will type yes. And then as you see, we just ping our child node with the Ansible module, ping module. So those ad hoc commands are like this one. This is just an ad hoc command, a simple one that can be used for doing a job one at a time. So there are like different examples to that. So it can be like, let's say I can show you another example here. So we can maybe reboot the server that we have. So I will use again the WordPress group, and then I will use the parameters of sudo reboot here. And then let's see what's going to happen. As you see, we just lost the connection to the server because we asked Ansible to go and reboot that. And if we were to, let's say, go and ping it right now, I think it will return an error because the server, I think, is not up yet. As you see, yeah, we are still waiting for the server to reboot. So let's check it slightly later, a little bit later. And what else can be done? We can use, like we can install programs, or we can do as much as anything that we can come up with. So ad hoc commands are the same with playbooks, but these are run just once or once at a time, so one at a time. So this is the downside of running ad hoc commands. So let's check if our server is up. Yes, it's up again. So let's check another example here with an ad hoc command. In this case, right now, I'm going to install Git on this local machine. So I will use Ansible localhost, and then -m. I will write the download module, or the package manager for downloading, which is yum. but Ansible has a built-in package for that, which is ansible.builtin.yum. And then I'm going to define here what I'm going to download. I need to define the name of the program that I want to download, which is Git. And then I need to download, I need to define which version I want, which is the latest version available, and -b stands for, the permissions. I will do that in sudo permissions. So let's see. As you see, let's check this log here. So the local host, which I've defined here, and then the package manager that I used is yum, and what is changed, installed git. So it has it is seen here as a changed variable, so it is true and updated, and we see like the details here about the repository and so on. So this is like a short, way of seeing what is changed on the server and what we have done. And we should be able to see the version here because we installed Git. Yes, it is here. It was successful. So this was another example for an ad hoc command. There are like dozens of these, so please go and check the Ansible documentation. And there are like examples there which you can follow if you want to do different things. And it's quite useful and easy and simple to read and write, so it's not really complicated. And that's it. So we installed Git right now. So I was talking about playbooks earlier. So these were the ad hoc commands, and I was talking about playbooks and roles, those YAML files that we can create and use for repetitive tasks, and we can keep those files for future use and so on. So in this case, I just want to show you how to create a simple playbook as well. And then later on, we will move on with the WordPress stack installation, and we will check the playbooks that I created earlier on the GitHub page. We will go through the details, what steps are done, followed, installed, and then it will be quite easy to, follow all this automation process. So, all right, so let's, I will also install, I will also need the tree package just for checking the folder hierarchy. So let's install this. It's a really useful package that can be used to see like what file is under which folder and so on. When it gets complicated with the roles and everything, sometimes it grows really too much under lots of folders and files. So this is useful to see. In this case, it's not really complicated at all, but maybe for future requirements, it might be useful for you. So now we are going to create a playbook, and then we are going to, let's remove Git here, and let's create a playbook with which we'll install Git on this server or any server that we want. So the purpose here is just to check the playbooks, how they work, how we write them, and then we can use them later on for different purposes. So all right, so I will just create a playbook here. To install Git, let's say. And then here we need to define, since this is a YAML file, we are starting with 3 hyphens. And then we need to first start with which hosts that we want to run this playbook on or for, let's say. So this will be my local host, but here I could write WordPress or any other group that I created earlier. So this can be just an example for you. So after that, we need the sudo permissions for installing packages, and we cannot do that with the OPC user. So that's why I'm using the become statement, and I'm typing yes for becoming the sudo user. And then right after that, I'm gonna define what tasks that I want to run. So I'm writing tasks here, and then here I'm gonna define which modules, or which which modules that I'm gonna use. So I'm gonna use the yum package installer, package manager, let's say. And then, but before that, let's say I'm gonna write here install git as the name. This is just, to make it more easy to read. And if you just have lots of tasks, one and below one, you would like to track what you are doing. So this naming them are quite useful. And in this case, we are installing Git, and I named it as install Git here. And then below that, I will use the yum, and then I will define what I'm going to install. It is the Git program. And then, as we did in the ad hoc command, I'm writing which version I'd like to have. So let me check it quite really quickly if there's any mistakes, or if I think it looks fine for now. One thing that you need to be careful with is the indentation with Ansible. So maybe using Vim is not quite the best option here, but if you are, let's say, using some other text editor, if you can see the lines in there, that could be way easier sometimes. So let's write and quit. And we created one single playbook here. So what we are going to do right now is we are going to try to run this playbook by typing Ansible-playbook and then naming the playbook that we created, which is Git playbook. So let's see, gathering facts, like if everything is okay or not, and then installing Git. So when you run the playbooks, you see like here, I got 2 OKs, and then one changed thing, which is the Git installation. So, and we will see all the failed tasks here and everything, but in this case, everything ran successfully and we installed Git. So there's not really much to do. It is as simple as this. You're just defining the name, the task that you want to have, if you want to install something, or if you want to remove something, or if you want to, reach something, gather some facts, or do whatever you want in those playbooks. And then you run it like this command. So this is as simple as this. So right now, let's go on with installing our WordPress stack. So what I have done is I have created a complete role and a couple of playbooks for creating this WordPress stack. So by role, I mean a couple of playbooks that can be used for one single purpose. Let's say installing a WordPress stack is one single purpose that I want to have, so I can create a role called, installing WordPress. And that could be my WordPress role, let's say. So which will include tasks like installing a database, configuring it, and running PHP configurations on that, creating a web server and installing WordPress stack on top of that, and different things being done at the same time in one single order. So this can be called as a role, and then we will check it in a little bit, and you will get the idea. So here, let's check my GitHub page, and then here I have this WordPress Ansible automation, and in here, this is my main WordPress playbook. which is quite similar to the one that I created or one that I just created a couple of minutes ago, which was installing Git. So if you go and check inside, there's not really much going on here. I'm telling which hosts that I'm going to run this automation on. Again, I'm becoming sudo here. And roles are this folder. And under this roles folder, I have this Ansible WordPress folder, which includes other roles that I have. So let's go and check them. I have a hosts example here. Again, this is the group that I created earlier, which we will not use in this case because this is a different IP. But the username, OPC, and private key, file, path, and name are exactly the same as we did in the beginning. So let's move on with the Ansible WordPress. Folders, let's say. These are like the roles that I have. So I have like tasks here, which includes database, main, web server, and WordPress tasks. So let's check this database. So what it does is it's installing my SQL server, and then MariaDB client, and then configuring it, creating the root passwords and the usernames and so on. So this is just for the database part. And then if we go on, let's say we have the main YAML file, which is a main role. So it is the PHP configuration for install. Also, it installs the required packages here. And so installing PHP here, configuration for the MariaDB and so on. So you can check the details here. And for web server, we will need, of course, a web server for running our WordPress instance. So this is the configuration for the web server and so on. So in the end, we will see the WordPress configuration here too. So what we are going to do is we are not going to go and install them one by one. So I created this main main WordPress playbook here. So when we will run this playbook will run all these roles under the Ansible WordPress folder here. So this is all we will do. And let's go and clone this repository to my instance right now, and then we will just run the command from our instance. So we can also do this cloning on Ansible rather than just using git clone. So let's check that way and how we can do that. So we will start again with sudo. So I will need the URL of this path, which I got here, and then we will check. We will start again with Ansible and localhost because I'm going to install all these files on this local machine. We are going to use Git module since we have it already and we all installed already. So we are going to start with this defining the path here, which starts with HTTPS, and then after that we need to define the destination where we would like to have it. So it will be, I want to have it in my Ansible directory, so it will be git WordPress -b again. So let's check it. So we successfully downloaded all these files to our VM using Ansible Ad Hoc Command, as you saw. So from now on, there's not really much to do, but let's check what we have here. So we have this Ansible config file, and as we saw it in the beginning, the Git playbook that we used for installing Git. And then we have the hosts, which is consisted of one single server that we are going to manage. And then under roles, wait a second, let's go up. Oops. It should be here under Ansible, Git WordPress. Oh yeah, it was the other folder. Sorry, I was confused. So yeah, I forgot here the Ansible. So let's download it once more here. It doesn't really matter because we downloaded it before into a different directory, but it's fine. So yeah, you see it right now here, the Git WordPress folder. I just missed the directory. So that's a small mistake that I've done there. All right, so let's go and check this folder, what we have here. So as you see, we all have the WordPress playbook roles and the example file, which you won't need in this case, but just for you to check. So if we see the Ansible WordPress, again, the folder that we can check to see what we have inside. So all these tasks, templates, and variables are here. So the files that we checked in the Git page. So all I need to do right now is just run this playbook and get this WordPress stack installed on the VM that we defined in our hosts file. So we start again with Ansible playbook, and then all I need to do is writing the WordPress playbook.yaml file that we will use. And let's check if everything is going to be installed correctly. And hopefully we will see our WordPress stack up and running in a moment. I tried to explain all these commands, the file structure and everything. So if you just follow the steps, like, like 10 commands or something, you can get this WordPress instance up and running in maybe 5 minutes. So it's, you can do it in a really short way. And so hopefully you can, benefit using this playbook. So what Ansible doing right now is it installed the packages, the dependencies here, and then here up, it's installing the MariaDB and all these configurations and changes. You can see them and track them here. And then it waited for the DB for the configuration, and then everything is completed here without any errors. And as you see, like, you can track the logs here, what is being done. Installing the Apache web server, starting it and enabling that every time the server is rebooted. Let's say our web server will be up and running, and the firewall settings, and unzipping WordPress and copying WordPress files using the Jinja template that I created. So hopefully, let's check what is being done here. So 27 tasks were run, and there were 18 changes, nothing failed, which is really awesome. So we should be able to reach and check our WordPress stack right now, because it should be installed on our child node, which we have here at this public IP. So if we go and check it here, we should be seeing our WordPress stack. Yes. And pretty much that's it. Like, we can just, define here the test site, username, test user. Nothing really complicated here. So let's say something like this. And my username, email, whatever. Let's use these. And it should be available right now. So let's log in. Test user, login. Yep, so we are here in the WordPress dashboard. And you can start from this point on. You can start editing your WordPress site and share your blog or content and whichever content you would like to share. So hopefully this will be useful for you, and I hope you enjoyed the video. And one last thing that I want to mention, please just find the Discord channel that we have on the link. So you can go there and ask questions if you run into any errors or if you need some help with this configuration. I can help you there. We can chat, and you can share your content there. And if you have any questions, you can just shoot your questions in the Discord channel. So thanks a lot for watching this content, and see you next time.